Well, speaking of more executive orders, it has been a busy first few days in office for President Biden when it comes to immigration. That was certainly an issue that took center stage during his campaign and during the early days of the presidency. He wants to put Dreamers on a fast track to citizenship, but the idea is sure to face resistance in Congress. Silky Shaw is the executive director of Detention Watch Network. It's a national coalition that has the goal of ending immigration detention. Silky, thanks so much for being here. The Migration Policy Institute estimates that 646,000 people are enrolled in DACA. One of Biden's first acts as president was issuing an executive order for the Secretary of Homeland Security to preserve and fortify DACA. In your opinion, is this enough?
I think this is a really good start. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to see out of the gate how far Biden has come in terms of saying we want to support people who are currently here, who have been here for a very long time. And so I think this is an incredibly good start. In addition to the executive order on DACA, there was also the introduction of, or the plan to introduce a bill in Congress that would also have a pathway to citizenship for the 11 million, which I think is a really good sign to say this is the direction we need to go in. This is a first step on the DACA executive order.
Silky, you used the phrase, how far he's come. What do you mean by that?
I think, in the context of where we were anticipating this administration going, I think there was a lot of questions of how far Biden would go, given how difficult the Obama era was for immigrants in this country. So much criminalization, so much deportation, the expansion of immigration detention. And so for Biden to come out of the gate and say, really, we're going to reckon with those issues and start a moratorium on deportations, reinstate DACA, rescind some of the worst Trump policies, I think that really shows that, he's listening to the movement. He's listening to the country that's saying, actually, we want to protect immigrants. We want to support immigrants now. And these are some first steps that we can do to start shifting things.
So, Silky, are you more optimistic with this administration than with the Obama administration in terms of actually getting things done? Because in the words of Detention Watch Network, the Obama and Biden administration, quote, targeted, incarcerated, and deported immigrants.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say completely what we're going to see. I mean, I think already we're seeing attacks on the moratorium and what we're negotiating. Given the 4 years of Trump, Trump isn't gone, but Trumpism still exists. And so that's a lot for us to manage and deal with. But I think ultimately, yes, I'm a lot more optimistic. I think people's eyes are opened up to all those harms. I think for many years under the Obama administration, this idea of responding to the Republican rhetoric and the talking points on criminalization of immigrants and really focusing on that criminalization through programs like 287G and secure communities and the expansion of the detention system, that all of that was exposed with Trump. The reality is what we're seeing is, people are calling for more. They're calling for releasing people from detention, from closing down detention centers, to really these questions on ICE as an agency itself already, right, not following a lot of what Biden has put out.
Silky, we are a deeply divided country, not just in terms of what we see in Congress and the Senate that's basically has an even split, with Vice President Harris being the deciding vote toward the Democrats. But an ABC News Ipsos poll that was released over the weekend found that Americans are divided when it comes to the issue of immigration. Only slightly more than half of respondents, it's 55%, supported reversing the Muslim travel ban, 56% support reversing the exclusion of non-citizens from the census count, and 55% support ending the emergency declaration funding the border wall. So it's almost split right down the middle. What is the message that you have for those Americans and also those members of Congress who you want to see the way that you see when it comes to immigration?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things to say here. I mean, one is that a lot of it is about the lies we've been fed by Republican targets. And so I think that's something that we're going to have to talk about. We're going to have to talk about really actually, in so many ways, immigrants contribute so much. Immigrants have been a part of this country, and also the U.S. has played so much of a role in other parts of the world in terms of imperialism, et cetera, and the impact that the U.S. has had. A lot of this is about supporting communities across the world, and also what the U.S. stands for. We're a country that supposedly believes in human rights, supposedly believes in civil rights, and how do we treat those people who are coming here looking for relief from all of that, what they're facing, I think is a real question for us, but also those who are currently living here are part of our communities, and we need to support them. So I think it's a real question about, one, how much there's a lot of problems in this country, and often immigrants become the scapegoats of those problems. And so really, going after that sort of myth that immigrants are the problem, but then also saying, what does it mean for the U.S. As a country, in terms of the role that we played across the world? How do we support folks who are coming, protecting them? What do we stand for, and really moving in that direction?
Silke, have you or has anyone from your team been in touch with anyone in the Biden administration?
It's very early days, so not really. I mean, I think at this stage, so much has been shifting. There were a lot of conversations around the transition process, but obviously everything's shifting and folks are sort of getting into those roles. So we'll see what that engagement looks like. Under the Obama administration, there was some engagement that happened, but in many ways, it wasn't, a lot of it wasn't an effective strategy to move things. And so I think we hope to see something different here, where we can work with the administration towards really reducing detention numbers, towards limiting enforcement, making sure that folks are protected as much as possible.
Silke Shah, Executive Director of Detention Watch Network. Silke, thank you for your time and for joining us on Quick Take this afternoon.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quicktake now for insight in an instant.